Okay. I'm making this video for a young man, Kobi Frumer. Now, Kobi, if you watch the Netflix Marvel series, the Punisher series, Micro is Punisher's technical guy. And on the TV show on Netflix, they created a wife, son, and daughter for him. Kobi plays the son. Little known fact, his on-screen sister, Ripley Sobo, she blocked me when I called David Hogg a scumbag. Now, Kobi he posted a picture on Instagram, and it was a video clip in his story, so it's probably gone by the time you watch this video. The story, because stories disappear after 24 hours. And Kobi is shooting a Beretta 92. And I see him set it to single action. And I tell him, son, don't ever set that to single action. And he acknowledged that. Now we're going to explain why. And yes, he did acknowledge it. We're going to explain in this video. This is mostly an amateur video, so most professionals will know what I'm talking about. Even intermediates will know what I'm talking about. Now my revolver, and yes, it's clear. My revolver is the only double action, single action gun I own. Now this revolver has the hammer, and I can pull 12 pounds. This is a 12-pound trigger. And I can pull this revolver with its full 12-pound trigger every time I pull the trigger. The only way this hammer will pull back is either by pulling the trigger with 12 pounds of force, or pulling the trigger, or pulling the hammer itself at 4 pounds, setting it to single action. This is the only double action thing like that. Okay. Now, my other guns, my Glock, this is a double action gun. Yes, I know they call it single, blah blah blah. Okay, this gun is a special double action where the hammer is on the inside of the gun. And the only way for me to pull the hammer is to pull the trigger. Okay, and it's about a 5.5, 6 pound trigger usually. Okay, and the trigger pull is always the same every time, the same weight. This gun, my 1911, this gun is about a 4.5 to 5 pound trigger, and this is a special gun because this gun has a visible exposed hammer, but the hammer must be manually pulled back. Now, when you pull the trigger, the hammer goes forward. If this had been actual live fire, the hammer would be set back by the slide. There's only one way to pull this. In other words, both of my semi-autos have the same trigger pull every single time. Now, Kobi's gun, the Beretta 92, and more famously the Sig P series, they have a special hammer that's called double action, single action. A hammer that is pretty much outdated. Yeah, Beretta 92 has it and Sig series has it, but most people prefer either single action only or double action only, one extreme to the next. And the revolver is usually double single. Now, the reason being is this. When you're in a combat situation, and yes, target this, hunting that, sporting that, but guns are tools of last resort. And you should always have the mentality that one day you may be called upon to defend yourself, therefore you might as well practice with that mindset. Now, this trigger, I can only use it one way, single action, 5 pounds. This trigger, I can only use it double action, 5.5, 6 pounds roughly. This trigger, I can use either way, but you keep it this way. If your trigger gives you the option of going single action or double action, always go double action. Always. Now, the single double, like the Beretta and the Sig, the hammer will be forward, like this. And you'll have about a 10, maybe 12 pound trigger pull. Sig is usually 10 pounds. Beretta, I'm not sure about, but and that long trigger pull will demonstrate here. And once again, still clear. That long trigger pull will pull back the hammer. Now, unlike the revolver, the semi-auto slide will always rack back and always reset the hammer for me. Now, on a Beretta and a Sig, when that hammer racks back for the first time, it will reset the hammer and reset the trigger to about 4 pounds of pressure. And by that time, you're already engaging your target. But when you present in a high pressure situation, you always want to have the heavy trigger pull, because if you're nervous and you slip up, you may pull it by accident. And if you pull the trigger by accident as the suspect is advancing on you, not a problem. It was an accident, but A, he's advancing. B, is anyone gonna fucking notice? Unless it's on videotape. But if you touch the trigger, which you very well may do, you may have a guy in a standoff like this, and I may say freeze. But then, as the guy, I may touch the trigger just to show him I'm in business. I don't know if that's a wise decision to make, but believe me, guys will do it. Now, if I'm nervous and I pull the trigger and I shoot him as he's getting on his knees, or if I shoot him as he's turning to run away, that's going to be a legal issue. Now, could I accidentally pull a 10 or 12 pound trigger? Probably, maybe, most likely not though. I mean, this is the 12 pound trigger here. Okay, look at this. I have to exert that pressure on there. Okay, and this is the 4 pound trigger. Look, see? Okay, see that one? That was very, very easy. And that is more likely to happen under pressure. That's just the truth. It's more likely to happen under pressure if it's at 4 pounds as opposed to 12 or 10 or whatever the fuck it is. Alright? So once you fire the first shot, the Sig and the Beretta will set to that 4 pound continuous action they do, where the hammer automatically racks back with the slide. Okay? But at this point, you're engaging the suspect anyway. So at that point, it doesn't matter, because he's already done the move that justifies deadly force. But you always keep it at that state, because you never know if the guy might surrender or run away. You don't want to have that accidental pull. Okay? And that was, Kobi did acknowledge what I was saying. He got back to me on the message. But I just wanted to emphasize that. Kobi is obviously a younger guy, and obviously the gun wasn't his own legally. But if he chooses to go into this lifestyle to defend himself, if he chooses to do that, to do this stuff, I want him to learn that now. And I also want you guys out there who are younger, who are less advanced, to know that principle. Now, I personally, first couple times I shot it single action at the range, just for harmless fun, to see how it would do. I've had it for 3 years now, so now I just boom, 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 always do double action. And some guys will actually take this hammer and cut it down so it's only double action. Jerry Michelin does that a lot, and Clint Smith did it with a couple of his revolvers. But as far as semi-autos are concerned, I will never get a double single. That's just me. If you want to buy a double single, hey, go right on ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But I prefer to always have the same trigger pull. I just always want my finger to have that same exact trigger pull. It's just, I don't like having a 10-pound trigger and then a 4-pound trigger right after that. That doesn't appeal to me. It just doesn't. And there are some guys that still love that. There's a couple of guys on Lucky Gunner. If you go on Lucky Gunner's YouTube page, they talk about that a couple of times over there. It's just, but it's actually not common anymore. Pretty much everybody is either 1911 or Glock, and that's like 90% of the community. In fact, if you go into anyone's house and they say there's a gun in the closet, there's a 90% chance that it's either some variation of a Glock, some variation of a 1911, or a double action Smith & Wesson revolver, some variation of it. These are the 3 most common handguns in the world. I mean, in our country anyway. And this is, you're not seeing as much as the double action, single action communities you did years ago. And I personally don't like them. That's just me. But if you have the option, always remember, defensive shooting, keep it in double action as long as possible. For the simple fact you don't want an accidental discharge, or a negligent discharge, or a premature discharge, or any shit like that. Okay? Because God forbid you put it to single action and point it at someone and that gun goes off while they're surrendering, you're going to have a very hard time in court. If the forensic scientists can prove that you shot the guy as he was turning away to run, or as he was getting on his knees, and they can determine that, believe me, they will. But you're probably going to have a lot of problems at that point. And this is a little more advanced for younger guys like Kobi. But, long story short, 1986, the Supreme Court flat out said, no more shooting guys in the back unless you can prove they're going to kill somebody in the next 2 seconds, okay? So if you shoot a guy in the back, or if you shoot a guy as he's surrendering, or if you shoot a guy as he's turning away, okay, unless you can prove that he's a serial killer or a terrorist, you're going to have a legal problem on your hands. Okay, so always keep that in mind. Alright, thanks a lot guys, appreciate it.